don't we go with one that's kind of geared towards some of our more seasoned owners here? Ones maybe been around doing this for a little while. Because I think a question many of them have, and whether they phrase it exactly this way or not, but it's how do I transition the business to the next generation? So if you've been running your company for 25, 30 years, something like that, and you're starting to kind of think now about, what do you do next? And I don't know if it's necessarily that dreaded word of retirement, Jack.
Oh,
but
it's a terrible word. That's one of the worst words in the dictionary. It should be banished for all business owners here.
Yeah. So the question's going to be not necessarily that you want to go retire. That may be part of what you're thinking about. But the question is, what do you want to go do next?
That's right.
And knowing that you don't want to keep doing the business for the next 25 or 30 years. And so how do you figure that out? How do you transition that to that next generation? And that could be family or non-family, but the next generation of ownership who's going to take over. And just from a big picture standpoint, I had some stats we looked at over the years. This one came from our friends at the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania.
Those Ivy League schools.
That's right. So it's got to be good information, right? There's probably some think tank that's there kind of going through stuff, and they kind of know what's going on. But only 1/3 of family businesses survive from the first generation to the second. So let me say that again. Only 1 in 3 go from that first owner to the second owner.
I've read a lot of that through the years. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
But think of that impact.
Yeah.
Survive. That means they board up and they sell it, or a lot of different things. Means the family doesn't move it forward again. That's for sure.
Right. And so that's pretty daunting. And of those, only another 15% make it to a third generation. So if you think about generation, it's probably 25 years, Jack. So again, after 50 years, almost every company is going to be gone at that point.
Yeah.
And it can be kind of a depressing thought. Here you are putting your blood, sweat, and tears day to day into your business, and the idea that, hey, if you look out over the next 20 or 30 years, chances are it's not going to be around. The odds are it won't be around. So how do you deal with that? And, from our standpoint, one of the reasons that Jack and I want to talk about this is that it doesn't have to be that way.
Not at all. And we have probably 6 or 8 situations with clients right now that we're transitioning them from one generation to another. I thought it was pretty easy when we started this years ago. Hey, I have a company and I want my son to get involved. Hey, son, why don't you just come with me and follow me around for 6 months every day, and eventually you can learn everything I know and you can take it over.
That is one approach, Jack.
And that's a very, you're
right.
It's
a very common approach.
It's probably the most, not significant number. Probably more people try that than, we'll say, other approaches, which we could call more correct.
Well, I'll say, I kind of put them into 3 categories, Jack, as I was kind of giving some thought to this here this morning, in terms of, how would you categorize a transition? And so there's 3 ways. The one that you're describing, which is the kind of follow me around and do what I do, I'm going to refer to that as the osmosis approach.
Osmosis, okay.
All right, where that knowledge just somehow transfers from you to me or vice versa, whatever it's going to be. Just being around. Yeah.
It's magical. It's one of those.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's the thing that during school we all hope for, that as you fell asleep on your homework as you're reading, that by somehow magical powers of osmosis, just the book being against your head, that information would transfer just from the book into your brains, right? That's what we're hoping to have happen.
That's how I used to study, but you St. Ignatius guys did it a little different than us St. Ed's guys.
I don't know the St. Ed's guys studied it all. I think they just kind of went in and took the things.
Yeah,
do they have tests there? Right.
We got a test today. That's right.
You get in and they give you a certificate. That's all right. So yeah, the osmosis approach is certainly one way to be able to do it, and we've seen those. Okay, and sometimes those do work. Sometimes. There's also
that's really a divine intervention situation to study. You have to see the halos, have to see the gold dust. I mean, that's a tough one. But yeah, it does work. But
it does happen. I'm not saying again that it's the question is, how do you increase the odds? Keep in mind that stat that started with there, Jack. That 1 in 3, only 1 in 3 survive from the first generation to the second. So how do we increase those odds? So
that's right.
Osmosis is one, not preferred. A second one that is not preferred as well, but does happen, which is death. So the owner.
It kind of forces things.
The owner dies. It does. It's good to be able to laugh about things like that, doesn't it? Just kind of sit here and it's always those awkward laughs. People, love talking about death. That's why it's great to talk to your financial planner, insurance folks, because what's better to talk to or talk about here on a Monday afternoon than people dying, right?
Can't wait. Most people can't wait to talk about that.
So that can happen, and whether it be something that's kind of a slow, painful death that happens over time, or something that happens very quickly. Maybe there's an accident. So that's something that happens at that point. Okay, then it's in the hands of whoever. Typically, and it'll be an attorney or a trustee of some type of kind, maybe, or an attorney, or maybe nobody, or maybe a CPA. But often it's nobody. It's just okay. Well, here are the keys. What do you want to do with it, kind of thing. It becomes part of the estate.
That's right. It'll be resolved legally, and basically, yeah. I mean, that's what happened. That's number two.
And we've heard many owners joke about it too. Say, well, at that point, it's not my problem anymore. So what do I care? I'm dead, right?
That's right.
And they kind of say it tongue in cheek because they don't necessarily mean it that way. But again, that's part of the fun of discussing, the opportunity of option number two, which is death. And then I think what you're referring to or suggesting a little earlier, Jack, which is kind of the third approach, which is more of a planned approach. Okay, and plan's one of those words that, depending how you hear it, you may have different visuals come to mind. And there are certainly a lot of folks who are involved when it comes to estate planning, or you hear terms like succession planning or different things like that, and tax planning. And many of those get involved. There are plenty of CPAs out there to help you figure out from a tax standpoint how to do it.
From the tax legal standpoint, the filings that are required, but what happens to the knowledge base? The knowledge base that person who started that company up with now wants to transfer it to his kid. How does that get transferred?
Well,
and the two, osmosis and death, those are two. There's a third one, follow me around, kid. That's osmosis.
That's osmosis,
and it's got to be more than that to be successful, and you can be successful, and that's what we do.
Yeah, there's plenty of folks. What I was trying to say, there's plenty of folks, whether it be CPAs to help you on the tax front. You have insurance folks to get life insurance stuff down. You've got attorneys who can help with the structuring of a trust, or financial planner to make sure that there's enough money there. Those are all important things. But the one that typically gets overlooked, and I think the biggest reason why 1 in 3 survive, it's not because they had the wrong trust set up, Jack, or that they were looking at the wrong tax code.
There's a lot of good legal and accounting advice out there.
All right, and chances are you probably have if you're an owner, you probably have a CPA or you have an attorney in your life that can help you with that. What Jack and I do is we help with those day-to-day pieces. Okay, so the knowledge transfer, the day-to-day management of the company. And dealing with what we think is really the biggest issue and concern, okay? It isn't, hey, I might have enough money to live on, if I sell this thing. It's, if I do sell and transition it, how do I know I don't have to come back into the business? Once I've transferred it to the kids and I've walked away, I want to make sure that when I walk away, I'm able to stay away. So.
No, we got the answer to that.
And that's what we'll come back to after the break. That's here. We'll come back in to kind of address that. But again, our how question for today is, how do I transition the business to the next generation? We'll get into some of the details of that when we come back from our break.